So we're closing down conversations in 5. We're walking to our seats in 4. We're taking a seat in 3. Facing forward in 2. Mouths are closed and eyes are open in 1.
Oh, thank you, Jasmine. All that time in the classroom paid off. Good evening, everybody. If you guys want to find your seats, we're going to get started because we want to keep this on time and give you part of your evening back. I want to welcome everybody on behalf of Houstonians for Great Public Schools. My name is Doug Fauché. I chair Houston GPS. We literally brought you into our home. This is where we live and do our work. I want to start by thanking Jasmine, and where's Sarah? Sarah and the rest of the staff and volunteers that have helped put on this event. Thank you all. I want to thank those of you in the audience for giving up part of your evening. There are a lot of things you could be doing tonight. We're very glad that you recognize the importance of governance in school boards. And then in particular, I want to thank the people on the front row. It's having as many of you have been to lots of H.I.S.D school board meetings, you know that being a trustee in H.I.S.D today is what you might call a full contact sport. It's a difficult and challenging job. Often people do not get in their cars right at the close of business on a Thursday and drive through the traffic and the construction on 290 to go to the H.I.S.D board meeting to tell you what a great job you do as trustees. And so I hope that the candidates for the trustee spots recognize that this crowd is really for you. We want you to be successful. And so I thank you for putting your hat in the ring and being willing to run the race. Jasmine asked me to talk just for a few minutes about why I got involved in this. I'm the first person in my family tree with a college degree. My wife is the second person in her family with a college degree. So we feel like we know full well the benefits that come with education. It's literally changed our lives. We have gotten every great thing that you could possibly get out of a great city like Houston, and now we feel like it's our obligation to give back. I can talk to you about the statistics in education, but I'll just give you a few. One, there are 17 ISDs in the Houston region that have 1 million souls under their care. H.I.S.D just happens to be the hole in the donut. 217,000 students, 30,000 employees, a $1.8 billion a year budget. This is a massive undertaking. And I would offer up to you that it's the single most important thing that determines the success or failure of Houston as a city. Everything that you want as a Houstonian. You want clean air, you want more parks, you want a safe place to live, you want a place that your kids will want to come back to after they go to school. Every single one of those things, the most basic underpinning is a citizenry that's involved in civic affairs, that is educated to their fullest potential, and that are leading productive lives. And so I'm glad that you agree with the basic proposition of that. We look forward to hearing comments from the candidates, and we look forward to everybody in this room helping us make sure that the next time we have one of these for the 2019 race, we'll have to have a room that has 1,000 or 3,000 or 5,000 people in it. So thanks. And now I'd like to introduce Linda Flores-Olson.
Thank you, Doug. Isn't it wonderful to be here together and in this beautiful space and not be at Hattie Mae where we usually see each other in the hallways and in the meeting. So thank you, Doug, for opening up your home away from home for this special forum today. I'm Linda Flores-Olson, and I'm a proud board member of Houston GPS. GPS stands for Houstonians for Great Public Schools. And I also want to thank everybody in this front row for being brave and for sticking your neck out and for raising your hand and saying, I'd like to throw my hat into the ring, because it does take a lot of guts. So thank you for doing that. So my interest in public education started when my daughter was in first and second grade. And I will say she is now in 8th grade, and she's in H.I.S.D, and I'm a proud H.I.S.D mom that's very involved in her school. And we were zoned to one of the best elementary schools in H.I.S.D, and everything was going really great. I thought all the schools were like the one that she went to. And then we moved out of the zone. And we moved just a mile and a half away, and it was not the same school that we had gone to. And so this idea of equity and the disparities was very clear to me. And it angered me, because I knew that I had choices. I could put my daughter in a private school. I could homeschool her. I had choices. But I looked around at her classmates and realized 95% of those people, those children, do not have the same choices that I have, or that my daughter had. And so it made me angry, and I started looking for my tribe, because I wanted to become a life-altering agent for at-risk children, and I was looking for my tribe. And lo and behold, I found my tribe, and that was with Doug Fauché and Joe Greenberg and Leslie Smith and Ramon Manning and Jasmine Jenkins. And so just a few months ago, we set out with this idea of Houston GPS to really educate the community on what is really happening at the school boards. And we're starting with H.I.S.D, but also to hold the trustees accountable. We are in a crisis situation. Everybody in this room knows that. Everybody's nodding. We don't have a whole lot of time. We have to act now. And so thank you again for all of you in the front row for being so brave, and all of you that are here to support them. We really appreciate it. And I will say one of the smartest things we ever did is that we hired a leader for Houston GPS that in just a few months has given us lots of structure. She sends us she sends me a to-do list almost every day. And I'm happy to execute on her to-do list. So please help me give a warm round of applause to Jasmine Jenkins.
Thank you, Linda. Off to do something else, I'm sure. Thank you all so much for coming. I just want to echo Doug and Linda's sentiments. We really appreciate all of you being here on a Thursday night before Stormpocalypse, or whatever it is that the news is calling it. I hope you all stocked up on water and then came. And definitely thank you to all the candidates. At this point, I can say honestly that I have sat down, chatted with, either in person or on the phone, with every single one of you. And I, first of all, want to say that you're all good people. And I want to say that in the onset of the beginning of a campaign season. I want to say that I know exactly what you're going through. And I want to say thank you for stepping up and for recognizing that this is important, and that this role is one that will, make a difference in the lives of hundreds of thousands of kids. So thank you. Tonight is all about us getting to know them. And what we're going to do is give all of the candidates an opportunity to introduce themselves very briefly. They have already been made aware of the ground rules of how that will work. So first, each candidate will get 1 minute to introduce him or herself. They will be cut off at the 1 minute mark. We have the lovely Sarah here who's handing out microphones. We'll be in the back to give them a little bit of a warning so that you know everyone will get exactly 1 minute to introduce him or herself, okay? And so they will be going in district order and alphabetical order within district. So that's the arrangement here. After the 1 minute introduction, we will have 2 panels, and we're doing that for a couple of reasons. First, it's kind of difficult to fit 14 people across the front of the room. And second is we've, as Linda has pointed out, our city is vibrant and diverse in many ways, but I think we would be remiss to not acknowledge that the economic diversity of our city looks great on paper, but driving through the city, it doesn't always look great, because some neighborhoods you can absolutely recognize the prosperity, and in other neighborhoods you can absolutely recognize the neglect and the lack of service. And so what we want to do is make sure that we are acknowledging those issues. Equity is one of our core values, and we want to take it head on. And so the districts, these are single-member districts that are geographically divided across the city. They do not all look alike. Some of them have stark disparities between wealth and poverty, and some of them are a little bit more homogeneous in one way or the other. And we will again address those head on. So the panels will be separated based on demographics of the districts, of the single-member districts. So we will have the first panel with districts 5 and 7, and then the second panel with districts 6, 1, and 9. And if you are interested in knowing, we cut that off at the socioeconomic status, the number of low-income students at 70% or higher. Right, so districts 5 and 7 have students at around 50% socioeconomically disadvantaged, and districts 6, 1, and 9 all have 70% or higher students in that status. So that's how we've divided the panels. I will ask a question. They will answer panel style, so each person will get a chance to answer the question. We'll switch directions of the microphone, so it's not the same person getting picked on first with every question. And then at the end of each of the panels, we have a series of 5 commitment questions where we will just be asking a yes or no of the candidates, whether or not they will commit to specific actions that are related to principles of good governance. They will only be given the opportunity to say yes or no, and will not be given the opportunity to explain their answer at that time. However, at the very end of the night, all candidates will get 30 seconds as a closing and final goodbye. So that's how it will work. We will not be taking questions from the audience here. However, we encourage you to take your smartphones out and do 2 things. The first is tweet the candidates directly, or send them a message on their Facebook page if you want to follow up with a question to them. So send messages directly to the candidates. Feel free to tweet or send them messages on Facebook or anywhere else on social media. The second is, please head to www.houstongps.org. We have a tab on our homepage that says 2017 candidates. As soon as you open that tab, there is a brief bio of each candidate who is in front of you tonight, along with their top priorities that they submitted to us. So you can, if you're interested in, who's talking at a certain time, who's talking in what district, please open up www.houstongps.org, click on 2017 candidates, and scroll through there to see the candidate brief bios. And you can feel free to do that throughout the night as we're going. Thank you. Are we ready? You can respond, it's okay. I was like, wait, do we say yes? Yes, you say yes. What we're going to do is we're going to start with our candidate 1-minute intros. We're going to start over here with Gretchen and just work the way down. If you guys could be, yes. Okay. Yes. Yeah, so you'll get a warning from the back. Sarah will have a 10-second warning sign that has a big 10 on it. And then Sarah will give me a little finger in the air, and I will say thank you, just like that. Sort of very, yes, and it's intentionally sassy and pointed. That's right. All right. So you will get a warning. Gretchen, we're going to start with you. If you would just sort of be ready and on deck as a person before you goes, we're going to go straight across the line like that. Okay?
Hi. Is this on? Okay. Give me the signal to go. All right. Hi, I'm Gretchen Himsel. I'm running for trustee in District 1. For those of you who don't know me, I work at Children at Risk, which is a statewide research and advocacy organization. I also do reading tutoring with bilingual students at the Children's Learning Institute at UT Health. A little bit about my background. I went to the LBJ School of Public Affairs and got my master's degree there in Austin. And then after that, I spent 3 sessions working at the legislature with the House Appropriations Committee working on the state budget. We moved to Houston to raise our family, and when my girls started school, I started volunteering in H.I.S.D schools. And over the past 10 years of my volunteering, I've seen the challenges and the successes that we have in our schools, and that's why I'm running, because I want those successes for all students in all schools. If I'm elected, my #1 priority will be to improve outcomes, to improve graduation rates, and when those kids graduate, I want to make sure that they are ready for career and their college experience.
Oh, please hold applause until the end. Sorry, I forgot to.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for coming, and thank you, Jasmine. I just want to take a minute to say your questionnaire was fabulous. I mean, some questionnaires are 10 pages and they suck the soul out of you, and some of them really make you think, really make you talk, and really make it clear that the people in charge really know the issues at the heart of our issues at H.I.S.D, and so I wanted to thank you. My name is Monica Flores Reichart. I am a mother of 3. Two of my children are H.I.S.D students. One is a baby. I am an attorney and a longtime education advocate. I attended public school in San Antonio, one of the lowest income public schools in the city, and in which very few people go to 4-year universities and even fewer graduate. From there, I was able to get a spot at Princeton. I completed my education there with a degree at the Woodrow Wilson School, and then I went to Columbia Law School. I am running because I think that I have the mix of passion and effectiveness that you need on the board.
Thank you, Monica.
So, thank you.
Good evening. My name is Elizabeth Santos, candidate for H.I.S.D School Board Trustee, District 1. A little bit about myself. I graduated from all District 1 schools, Herrera, Burbank, and Sam Houston. I went to University of Houston downtown, where I realized that H.I.S.D failed me. And so I came back to Sam Houston, where I graduated, to give back to the community. I taught there for 7 years, and I moved over to Jeff Davis, now Northside, where my mom graduated in 1975. And I know you guys expect to hear about my my students that have these odds, the odds stacked against them, and how they are all labeled at risk. But those were labels that were attached to myself. And they were attached to me, and we've been fighting very hard for this is my 10th year in education. And I'm going to fight hard to take those labels off and help our students achieve a quality education.
Thank you.
Hi, y'all. My name is Sean Sheben, and I'm asking for your support and your vote to be your next Houston ISD trustee for District 5. I'm a native Houstonian, an Eagle Scout, a graduate of Clear Lake High School, a chemical engineer, a fiscal conservative, and a volunteer math tutor at my neighborhood elementary school. If you honor me with your support and your vote on November 7th, I pledge to work with my fellow trustees to establish the 3 following priorities. First, I believe we need to boost student outcomes by focusing district spending on learning in the classroom, conducting a line-by-line budget review to close our $107 million deficit and ensure that our teachers are paid a competitive salary. Second, I believe we need to prepare our kids for the careers of the future, focusing on literacy, STEM fluency, and providing vocational pathways for those students who choose to start their careers right out of high school. And third, I believe that we need to focus on volunteerism in the schools. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sean Sheehan. There you go.
Hi, my name is Kara DeRocha, and I'm running for H.I.S.D School Board for District 5. I have 3 children in H.I.S.D schools, and my oldest child has a special education label. I have a degree in environmental engineering and spent 15 years in the consulting world. So I have 15 years experience deciphering regulations so that a layperson can understand them and moving emissions and numbers around so that we can stay within a budget, saving companies millions of dollars. And I have experience negotiating with state officials. One of the things we really need on the school board right now is someone that can articulate both sides of an issue, have some empathy, and work well with others. So I promise to fight for all of our children the same way I fought for my kids when they needed something, and that is with the compassion and strength of a mother and the pragmatism and efficiency of an engineer. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Sue Dygard, and I'm running for District 5 trustee. As the first person in my family to graduate from college and the daughter of a high school dropout, when I received my degrees from Rice University, I was the first in my family to graduate from college. I now have 2 daughters enrolled in high-performing H.I.S.D. schools. I am an advocate for education. I am knowledgeable and informed and engaged at both the state and the local levels, advocating for effective policies and funding for our students. I serve on the board of the Houston Center for Literacy. I serve on the H.I.S.D. District Advisory Committee, and I'm the chair of the Communications Committee for Arts Access Initiative, which seeks to increase access to arts education for all H.I.S.D. students. My vision for H.I.S.D. is to create a 21st century system of education where all students, regardless of their abilities or their challenges, has the foundation that they need to achieve success in college or career in our ever-changing society and economy. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Susan Schaefer. I'm also running in District 5, and I did bring notes because I'm going to tell you my entire 27-year history in HISD as a teacher and a librarian. Here it is, 27 years. Policies and procedures, new policies and procedures, adding a policy, changing a procedure, reading programs for renaming reading programs, going back to old reading programs, starting new reading programs, bumping a math program. My hands are shaking. An old science program, a new science program, but wait, science scores are miserable, so let's dump that program and start a new program. We've ignored social studies, but we can't lose our focus on reading, but hey, social studies is reading, so let's teach them together. But now math scores have plummeted, but a lot of math is reading, so let's not forget reading. But hey, girls need more science, and whatever happened to health, and are we teaching spelling or not? That, my friends, is a test-driven, knee-jerk culture, year in and year out. My dream formula for HISD is simple: pick something and stick with it. Thank you.
Okay. I've got 2, and I'm actually going to come over here as well.
Okay.
If that's all right.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, okay, perfectly timed. Here we go. Good evening. Thank you for coming out and for taking an interest in learning more about the trustees and candidates as we enter election season. Thank you to Houston GPS for putting on this forum this evening and for helping hold us accountable through effective governance focused on student outcomes. My name is Holly Flynn Villaseca, and I'm the incumbent trustee for Houston HISD District 6. I am a wife, a mother, and homeowner in District 6, and truly have skin in the game when it comes to making sure our school system is strong and we spend our tax dollars wisely. I'm the daughter of an immigrant and come from a working class family in rural Ohio. I was the last one born of 6 and the first one to go to college in my family. I'm proud to have 2 degrees from the University of Michigan and Columbia University in New York. I landed in Texas by way of Teach for America in 2004. And I remained to work in education ever since coming here. Since I was appointed on the board in January, I've hit the ground running, and I'm just getting started. And I look forward to having your support.
Thank you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Robert Lundin, and I'm a candidate to represent District 6. I come to you tonight as somebody who has devoted my career to improving educational opportunities for Houston kids, starting as an HISD bilingual teacher, to being a school founder, to a university professor, to most recently overseeing the turnaround of struggling schools across this city. I don't need to tell anybody in this room the gravity of the challenges our district is facing today. $100 million deficits, prospective takeovers from the state, rapidly eroding confidence among the public. But what I can tell you from having been in those schools is that our teachers and our principals, and by extension our kids, are feeling that pain too, and that this requires decisive leadership to make sure that kids aren't caught in the crosshairs of the drama by adults. I think we need some leadership on the board that brings three things. First, who understands what it takes to turn around schools, who've been in it, and who know what the board's role in that is. Second, who knows what the right questions are to ask and when to ask them. And third, who's unafraid of engaging in constructive conflict and advocacy on behalf of all of our kids.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. Hi, I'm John Lumen, and I'm running for trustee in District 7. I am a first-generation college graduate. I have a degree from George Washington University in mechanical engineering, the University of Texas for mechanical engineering, and a law degree. I am like every one of you in here. I have a child, an H.I.S.D, and I want the best for that child, and I want the best for the city of Houston that our education system can offer. We are the fourth largest city in America. We demand and we deserve the best education we can have. So I want every student to have access to a great education. I want to lift up those schools that need to be lifted up. A rising tide lifts all boats. So let's do that. Let's get at it. I want neighborhood schools to flourish. I don't want the central office telling those neighborhood schools or those schools that needs improvement what to do. Let's get together, partner with them, and get it done. I want to be good stewards of your tax dollars. We're all taxpayers. We all have students, and they need to be have a solid budget, and we can't be pilfering the rainy day fund to the tune of $107 million every year.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Ann Sung. I'm a proud H.I.S.D and Harvard-trained scientist, educator, and public policy analyst. As H.I.S.D's newest trustee representing District 7, I bring to my work a successful track record of strategic, collaborative leadership, working in IR, now no longer IR schools, in county government, and in education nonprofit work across the greater Houston region. After my election last December, I asked Superintendent Carranza, "What do you need to be successful?" And he said to me, "I need the board to take a governing stance." So I joined the board at TEA's two-day Lone Star governance training in December. And since taking office in January, my #1 priority and focus in joining this board has been the adoption of this framework, laying out ambitious student learning goals and strategic constraints rooted in equity and a focus on learning. Life as a good governance and strategic framework nerd can sometimes be lonely. So I want to thank Houston GPS for elevating the conversation in Houston about the importance of good governance.
Thank you. District 9 trustee Wanda Adams is at Madison High School's groundbreaking. She will be here later.
Good evening. My name is Dr. Carla Brown. I am a 20-plus year educator in the city of Houston, and I am running for board for District 9 because there are 31 schools in District 9, and of those 31 schools, 14 of them have Fs. I didn't even include the Ds and the Cs, but 14 of them have Fs, and that is unacceptable. I am a product of District 9, and I know that District 9 is not an F district. I want to make sure that there's some turnaround. I have a 60 to 90 day plan that includes a call out to all people who are interested in helping to make a change in H.I.S.D, and that is for mentors for every single student who does not have a positive role model in their home. I'm going to do that call out. And then I will bring in community resources to make sure that we meet the needs of those students where the district leaves off.
Thank you.
If this was Tombstone, I'd be Doc Holliday. My name's Gary Monroe, candidate, District 9. 17 years District 9 has been unserved by the people that represented that district. Those schools should not be hurting the way that they're hurting. Somebody figured out money was more important than the average kid. It's time for a change. I'm not what you expect. But what you get in me is you get honesty, you get character, you get a business owner that clearly understands. After I sat down with Mike Lunsford, we understand money. I'm no nonsense. Everybody shall be held accountable. 306 people work inside of Hattie Mae White. Those 306 make over $100,000 a year. You could eliminate 15 of those positions and put that money into our schools. Bottom line, H.I.S.D. is scandal. You have no choice but to accept your Olivia Pope.
Thank you. Thank you. We would now like to invite the candidates from Districts 5 and 7 to come to the front. No, you don't have to be in the same order. You don't have to. Sorry. I know, organize yourselves alphabetically. That's a little bit too teacher-y. Here we go. There you go. So candidates, you will have approximately a minute to answer. We will not be as stringent with the time responses, but we, as mentioned, we do ask that you be clear and direct in your responses. And if it goes, a little bit past a minute, I'm gonna have to cut people off just to make sure that we have representation from the whole group. I'd like to start first again by acknowledging the fact that this set of candidates represents a region of the city that is known to be much more affluent. At the same time, there are segments of both District 7 and District 9 that have been traditionally underserved. And so I'm going to start off with an equity question. The median income in University Place is the median household income in University Place is $121,000 per year, and the median household income in River Oaks as of 2015 is $129,000 per year. At the same time, the median income in a household in Sharpstown is $33,000 per year, and the median income in Gulfton is $28,000 per year. And both of those areas have sections in Districts 5 and 7. These districts represent the widest income gaps in the city. All candidates except Sue have indicated that they somewhat or strongly agree with giving funding above the current per student allotment, or PUA, to support students from traditionally underserved communities. And Sue, I'm happy to let you explain that. I know that there's more to say about that. How do you plan to reconcile shifts in funding priorities with the desires of your higher income constituents who also happen to be more likely to vote? And John, we're going to start with you. Don't worry, the next one will start on the other side.
All right. So if I understand the question correctly, how do we help the student in District 7? How do I help the students that are less in schools that are less affluent? And so the answer to that is it's complex, right? You don't take from flourishing schools like River Oaks and things like that. You don't take their per student unit allocation, the PUA, and give it to somebody else. With a rising tide, we lift all boats. We don't punch holes in somebody's boat when another boat's got a hole in it. We go patch the boat. So we have to do a different way of allocating, not to take away from schools that are successful, because we want all schools to be successful. And so the per student unit allocation in River Oaks and in Briar Grove, that's actually a pretty small number compared to the rest of the district. So what we need to do is raise those student allocations within those other schools that are in the neighborhoods that you discuss. And so I can tell you that my constituents or future constituents, they are all for that. They're like, it is not palatable to have a portion of our district or our H.I.S.D. not having good schools for access to everybody. So it's equity that everyone has access to good schools. We need to allocate more. We need to get more state funding. We need to be in Austin and get that state funding so we can do it for low-income sectors and bring that up.
Ann?
So as a graduate of Bel Air High School, and as a former teacher at Lee High School, Wisdom, which serves much of the Gulfton area, I get asked this question all the time. And when you talk to parents in schools, the gap that you think there may be is not as great. All parents want experienced teachers, a rich curriculum, good opportunities for their kids in their schools, in strong neighborhood schools. And so the first thing I would like to say is that in H.I.S.D. we need to focus on making sure that we have the supports to make that possible at all schools. If you look at what H.I.S.D. is doing currently to support schools with greater numbers of students with socioeconomic, who are low socioeconomic, and schools that are struggling, we're putting additional resources in. So that's the Achieve 180 program. That's the community schools framework, bringing in resources from community partners that I've championed for many years and which is now being implemented in this coming year with partnership from the City of Houston and I hope Harris County as well. And so that is the approach that I'd like to take. We need to make sure that every school has what it needs to deliver on a great education for every kid, whether it's a high-income neighborhood or a low-income neighborhood, and that does mean we need to be creative in a low-funding environment to bring in more resources to serve schools with additional needs.
Thank you, Susan.
The PUA does need to increase. Students who aren't doing as well need more resources. We know that, and we'd like them to come from the state. But the elephant is in the room, and that's magnet programs. I taught at Brayburn Elementary. That's where I started my career. And that was a school with 1,100 children and 30 classrooms and temporary buildings. They did not have nearly the resources as where I ended my career at Parker Elementary, which has a multitude of resources and an amazing music program. It's come up already in the last year that the idea of cutting some magnet funding and redirecting it to students who aren't getting as many resources. And a lot of parents don't like that idea. I understand that. Everybody's going to fight for their children. But magnet programs are going to be addressed this year, and I think that as we work with parents, we have to make them understand that when we take money from something, we are not going to destroy a program, and parents want to see where exactly that money is going. If we're taking money out of our high-funded magnet programs, then they don't want to see it go into a black hole where the board is free to misspend it at their leisure. So the elephant is there, but we need to deal with it. We need to deal with it with all of our communities.
Thank you. Sue?
I think that was an example where my knowledge of school finance got me a little tripped up. I did explain my answer in the section where we're good. Fundamentally, I believe that I interpreted that as the PUA as the base funding by which we fund students in our classrooms, and I fully support giving additional funding through that formula funding to the students that have greater needs in the classrooms. For example, when I go to Las Americas, the newcomer school over in Gulfton, and I see their campus and I visit with their principal, and the knowledge I have of the need on that campus with all of these kids that are coming from different countries, different learning differences, coming in different places, speaking different languages. They need more resources than the kids in my daughters do, absolutely. But I believe in doing that based on funding students and not just funding schools and programs. By doing it as much money going to the classroom, having weights for bilingual, for compensatory education, for at-risk, refugee, all of those kinds of things that then provide those additional resources to those schools for those high-need populations that actually exist in all of our schools in H.I.S.D. So that was why I answered that question that way. I do support that additional funding, but through this formula it goes to the classrooms in our schools. Thank you.
Go ahead.
So my understanding of the question is, how do we help less affluent students without ticking off the parents or the more well-funded families?
Correct.
Correct. Okay. So, so I was talking to a Westview parent, and they had chosen to move their child out of H.I.S.D. schools and into private schools because they said, I'm just so tired of watching all of our resources not go to our schools, because as many of you may or may not know, Westview, for example, doesn't have an art program. And And so we want to make sure that, as several people have said, that we're not taking money from one just to give to another. So for those schools that are needing more support, I am a firm believer in the community schools model. But I think there's also something we can say about changing some policies within HISD and not just sending straight money to those schools, but freeing up funds in other ways, such as maybe being able to pay a teacher more in one of those less affluent schools by having them do professional development rather than having that be a centralized service. And that way the teacher gets more money, they get some more experience doing more administrative type duties. It's a win-win, and so that's pretty much, yeah. So what I got.
Thank you. Thank you, Kara. Sean, go ahead. You can hold on to the mic. Yeah.
All right, so I think there are three ways that we can address this issue. First, if you look at the literature, two factors really come out on top in terms of influencing student achievement. The first is having great teachers. The second is having basically unlimited access to reading material. So in terms of teachers, right now, the way that the district, supports our teachers, we lose about 1,800 teachers a year, and those have to be replaced every another campus or districts with other districts. But I don't think it gives teachers the feedback that they need to make meaningful improvements in the outcomes of their students, and I don't think it gives a good track record to really understand each student's learning trajectory. So that's what I would do. I would reach out to the research institutions in the city, to vendors who specialize in this sort of thing, and work on adopting a testing regimen that is not high stakes, but provides the ability to see a learning trajectory for each student that also provides meaningful data and output for teachers to respond to in a timely fashion. The thing I hate the most about STAR is that we get the test scores back at the very end of the year when the teachers really can't do anything about it. So I think we need to change that. Learning trajectories, if we can, adaptive assessment would be fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, Kara.
So I severely dislike the STAR. I think it is an incredibly poorly written test, and it is inconsistent at best, especially when it comes to reading and to the reading portion. So there's been some changes in H.I.S.D, my understanding, in how they're going to be doing this. There was a test writer for a very long time. There was two test writers in H.I.S.D who wrote the benchmarks that students took throughout the year that teachers were supposed to look at to try to gauge how those students would do in the STAR exam. But they're not, it was like comparing apples to oranges. So we are now in H.I.S.D getting benchmark tests written by the people who write the STAR exam so that teachers can now have a better idea of how their students are performing throughout the year. In addition to that, H.I.S.D, my understanding as well, is that they will be having a series of benchmarks that are not written by the people who do the STAR test. They're using the same people who do accelerated readers, and that way we have a different measure of how students are doing, and we are not solely relying upon the STAR test anymore, and I am very much in favor of both of those actions.
So I've been talking to principals a lot lately about this new universal assessment that they're starting to administer to students this year, and they're actually really excited about this opportunity because it'll give a touch point at the beginning of the year of where the students are starting, then again in the middle of the year, and then at the end of the year that is focused solely on reading and math. And we'll let them measure the progress of their students through the course of the school year, and it's not tied to the STAR. My fundamental measure of success when it comes to student performance data, however, is what they're doing when they're 22 or 23 years old. Have they succeeded through college or a career path, and are they in a job? Did we get our students not just to college, but through college? And the biggest predictor of college success for our students is SAT, ACT scores. And right now we have 6% of our African American and Hispanic students college ready based on those scores, and 60% of our Asian and Caucasian students college ready based on those scores. And that is a measure that I think we should be looking at as a district to measure the success of the work that we're doing in our district. Thank you.
We know the STAR doesn't measure what students know. We know it measures their endurance. So we can have as many people as we want writing benchmarks to practice to take a test that is not fairly measuring what our students know. We dumped the Iowa test because of all of this outcry about how much testing we're doing. The H.I.S.D. discontinued giving that test. And so we don't have a test that measures student growth and measures how well students have learned the curriculum. I think when we talk about testing, we have to talk about a test that students can take in a reasonable amount of time, that doesn't measure how long they can sit still, and it doesn't measure how quickly they're waiting to just be able to go to the bathroom. I don't care what that measure is, but we're giving a test that, especially at the elementary level, it's written above grade level, and we have to give it, so we'll continue doing it. But why are we continuing to waste all this time practicing for a test which many of our students will never pass?
As the district was preparing to adopt our new vision this spring, I prepared by going and visiting every school in my district. And it didn't matter whether I was in a rich neighborhood, in a poor neighborhood, in a magnet school, in a neighborhood school. Universally, parents said, "We are sick of this overemphasis on testing." Now, I'm a former teacher, and I used student data, including high-stakes data, such as tax scores, that's what there was, and then STAR at the end of my career, very carefully as a diagnostic information. And there's no problem with that. So STAR is one data point. It does tell us some meaningful information about how our students are doing, but we have to use it in a smart way. When I worked at Lee High School, we were so obsessed with STAR tests. We took kids out, we took teachers away from calculus classes and out of AP English classes and only put them in STAR prep. And no surprise, our AP calculus and our AP English results plummeted, and they haven't recovered yet. So what are some things that we're doing now that are smart uses of data? When I visited Sinclair Elementary recently, the principal took me into the teacher prep room, and there was a wall with literacy data. You can see visually, A through Z, where is each student in terms of their reading level. This is what we use in Literacy by 3. It gives you real-time, not post-mortem at the end of the year STAR data, but real-time information. Where are students now, and how do we help students in each grade progress in English? The universal screener is going to allow us to do that at all grade levels in all subject areas. Thank you.
So I agree that STAR has been overdone, but we need an objective measure to be able to measure schools, to compare from one to the other to the other. I have a now 6th grader, and so it's good for me as a parent to know how the STAR test, how he did on it compared to others. That's not the end all, but objective measures are important. How do we know? How can we compare this school to that school, what these kids are learning? And everyone, I would agree, learns differently. But I think the universal assessment is a good approach. Where you, at the beginning of the year, you know that Johnny's got a 4th grade reading level, but he's in the 5th grade. And how did it go throughout the year? Did he get better? Yes, he did. You know, he's halfway through. He's back on course. That's important. That's objective measures of data. We need that. We need to be able to assess that. And so, yes, STAR's not the end all, but we need objective measures throughout the year. So we know that that school is working or that school isn't. That's the only way. We have to be able to figure it out.
Thank you. And candidates who have the microphones, if you could just hold those in your lap, and you all can take a seat. We are going to move to our commitment statements from these candidates. Just so the audience knows, the candidates did get these. They did not get the questions ahead of time that we've just asked, but they did get the commitment statements ahead of time so that they could think about whether or not they were ready to agree to them and determine if they were not, how they could address that in their 30-second closing. Rochelle, is going to come across. You will not use your own microphones. In fact, they've been muted. But Rochelle will come across because we are strictly waiting for a yes or no answer. So Rochelle will come across behind you for your yes or no response to each of these. These questions are based on the Houston GPS core values and directly reflect the proven practices of good governance and strong school board leadership. We expect a response of yes, I will, with a thumbs up, or no, I will not, with a thumbs down. We want to be visual and verbal. Yes. Oh, no. There we go. Okay, you've got, in fact, fair enough. In fact, we will start on this side, Kara, so you have a little bit more time. And because we're going to go through question by question and wait for the yes, I will, and no, I will not for each one, okay? And so we'll just start on this side and then start on that side. Question number 1. To the best of your ability, will you focus all meetings, and we're defining focus as an attempt at 50% or more of time in meetings, and public discussions on policies directly affecting student outcomes and or the improvement of student outcomes?
Yes, I will.
Yes, I am, and I will.
Yes, I will.
Yes, I will.
Yes, I will.
Yes, I will.
Okay. Question 2. Will you dedicate time and energy to reviewing, analyzing, and evaluating district policy before and between meetings?
Yes, I will.
Yes, I will.
Oh, yes, I will.
Yes, I will.
Yes, I will.
Yes, I will.
This is a big one. If elected, will you retain and fully cooperate with an independent entity to audit the district's annual budget and the budgeting process no later than February of 2018?
Absolutely, yes, I will.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, I will.
Yes, I will.
Yes, I will.
Yes, I will.
Number 4. Will you limit meeting time and public discussions to the issues or policies at hand without making assumptions or speculation about the motivation or character of other trustees or the superintendent and his staff?
Yes, I will.
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 Finally, the last question. If elected, will you seek and support student-centered, data-driven policy solutions and discuss each policy on its own merits and not on the basis of political ideology?
Yes, I will.
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 Thank you very much, candidates for Districts 5 and 7. So before I invite the candidates for 1, 6, and 9 to come up, I just want to remind everyone, or for those of you who didn't know from our social media or from our emails, our members, and members should have signed in upon entering, who have been members of Houston GPS for 2 weeks or longer, will receive an email at the end of the forum. In that email, you will be able to fill out the survey for endorsement in each of the races. You do not just have to do the race where you live, but you will vote for endorsement in each of the races. All candidates who do not receive unanimous endorsement from our membership will be reviewed by the Leadership Council following this meeting, and we will announce endorsement tomorrow. So that is how the endorsement part of our process will work at the end of the forum. So I just wanted to point that out. Also, all of the candidates from all of the districts will be given 30 seconds at the end to give any final remarks. At this time, I'd like the candidates from Districts 1, 6, and 9 to come up. And while I truly hope that you all were taking notes while the first group was going, you will not get the same questions. So, and there should be 2 microphones circulated there, so yeah, if you guys could just share. Fantastic. I am going to start in this group with an impact question. And it has to do with teachers, which is a subject very near and dear to my heart and to several of you all as former teachers and, of course, as parents. Last year, the board voted to end the EVAS system of teacher evaluations, citing that the system was unclear and inaccurate in evaluating teacher impact or quality. Do you support implementing a comprehensive system of determining teacher effectiveness? This is a 2-part question. If so, what metrics should that system include, and how do you plan to help the district implement it? So I'm going to repeat that again because it's a 2-part question. Do you support implementing a comprehensive system of determining teacher effectiveness? And if so, what metrics should that system include? And Monica, we're going to start with you.
I agree with the decision to not use the EVAS, in part because I think of it as kind of, I heard Dr. Morath talk the other day about how teachers are surgeons. And I think that we need to be, when we look at heart surgeons, we don't just compare 2 heart surgeons across the country and assume, based on survival rates, and assume we're going to have a metric that we can use, right? We have, one heart surgeon might be taking the most difficult cases, and the other heart surgeon on the other side of the country might not. And that, it's phenomenally difficult to incorporate all of these externalities into one number, one system that is going to rate your teachers and as a result give them bonuses. I think that's a problem. So I agreed with that. I think that the metric that we use for teachers should include input from their evaluations, from the visiting the classroom and seeing what's going on. I think it should include feedback from meaningful feedback from parents as well, and feedback from their peers. I think that we know that strong teachers come from collaborative environments where they know their weaknesses and can overcome them with collaboration with other folks. And I think that's something that we need to encourage in the district. So I think I answered the question. Thanks.
As a teacher, I do support a comprehensive method. So just to piggyback on what Monica said, I absolutely agree with that. However, as a teacher where I taught at Sam Houston and I had a 98% passing rate on STAR, and then I transitioned over to a different school and my passing rate was not 98%. I worked just as hard, just as much, just as long. We have to have peer evaluation. We have to have parental involvement, student involvement. We collaborate better when we work together, and we're allowed to work together, but right now with the culture of standardized testing, that doesn't happen. We don't work together because we're mandated and dictated to go into a PLC and be lockstep on how we do things. We are not working effectively, and we need a better way and a better manner in which we do this.
Before we had EVAS, we had the PDOS system, which was completely subjective, and over 90% of the teachers got an exceed expectations, which is statistically irresponsible. So then we went to the other way, which is the EVAS system, and that doesn't seem to be working either. So I think we need to take something from the private sector, which is a 360-degree review. Include some peer review, include some parent review, include something from the principals that have observed the classroom, and see if the teachers are meeting their goals and their standards. Also take into consideration their testing, both their benchmark, the progress of the students, as well as some standardized testing. So once we have all of that, we can blend the two systems, which is both subjective as well as data, as well as using data. Here, I think you asked the second part of the question, which was how are you going to implement that? And anytime you have a new program, you need to get buy-in from the participants. And that involves direct communication with the teachers about what's going on, as well as perhaps halfway through the program send feedback, because everyone wants to make sure that the kids are doing better, and we can't do that if we're not paying attention to how it's going. So 360 degrees with feedback on how the program's going to perhaps make modifications as we go.
All right, so I'm very familiar with 360-degree feedback in the corporate sector, and I'm a true supporter of that too. And I think that there are a lot of great ideas and aspects of that you can get. Student peer-to-peer feedback, community members that are working in the schools can also provide feedback to the school and to the classrooms in which they're volunteering to see as to whether or not those classroom environments are welcoming to the schools or to the volunteers in the community. It's also important to make sure that we include teacher observations and that there are multiple observations that are included into that comprehensive system as well, not just one summative assessment or autopsy at the end of the year that was comparable to PDOS, because we do know that that was not effective. I know when I was a teacher getting evaluated under PDOS that it was really honestly a joke. And so making sure that, again, we also take a look at the school effect into this as well is important, because you have a greater number of students, and the leadership is also, accountability piece is also taken into consideration there as part of some way of looking at it. I'm not quite sure what the percentages would be, but definitely having multiple measures. I do support making, if we do use some kind of growth data or a universal screener that has a middle or beginning of the year, middle of the year, and end of year component to it, that I think it's important that it's very open and transparent, and that it's nothing at all likened to EVOS. So again, I support it. Community input in the development and creation of it at the beginning, so we have stakeholder input, is very important before we roll something out across the board.
Thank you.
So I'm most definitely in favor of a comprehensive system of teacher evaluation that's comprised of both qualitative and quantitative data. And I want to push a little bit on the analogy that Monica used about the surgeon. Quantitative and qualitative would mean if you come to me and you say, I need open heart surgery, the first question you're going to ask is, what is their survival rate? And if I tell you that 70% of that surgeon's patients die on the table, but they're trying really hard, you're probably not going to be comfortable with that doctor. We need that same level of comfort with every educator. That doesn't mean they serve the same students and that every student has the same needs. But we need a thoughtful and holistic measure that's qualitative and quantitative that gives a thorough analysis of teacher performance. To the point about EVOS, I've seen firsthand both its possibilities and its perils. And it's important to know where the struggles were with EVOS. There were a couple of them. First is that, and this is a very fair criticism, the formula by which it was analyzed became a black box. And so teachers felt like an abstract number was being created without knowing how they got there. And second, and I heard this directly from the EVOS designers when they would come and talk to people in my role, it was designed exclusively as a supplementary evaluation measure, not as the primary one. And when it got overly used for that purpose, it got used in the wrong ways to the detriment of teachers. There were statistical flaws in it, but that shouldn't be the reason why we shouldn't be using meaningful measures on both a qualitative and a quantitative basis to provide teachers feedback and appraisal.
Thank you. Before you start, Dr. Brown, do you want to come on up? I let everybody know that you were at Madison. Madison High School had their groundbreaking for their new building, so Trustee Adams was there. Yes, we're excited about their new space. Dr. Brown, we're going to have you go, and then we'll pass it back to the middle. The question again was, do you support implementing a comprehensive system of determining teacher effectiveness? And if so, what metrics should that system include, and how do you plan to implement it?
As an educator, I don't feel that one person I can stand here right now at this moment and tell you exactly what should be included in a system that would evaluate teachers. One of the things that I know as an educator, that if you've been on any campus that on one side of town and then you've crossed over to the other side of town and you've gone into a classroom, as people have already said, the disparities are great. And what a teacher has to do in one area compared to what a teacher has to do in another area, I don't know that there's one single tool that can be utilized to determine what an educator is doing in a classroom. I do believe it should be a holistic approach. It should include multiple measures. But what those measures are, I believe that is something that the educators need to come together, those that are in the classrooms, and come together and determine what it is that they want to be measured on. Not what someone that's not in the classroom, that has never been in the classroom, believe that a teacher should be measured on. There are a lot of things that go into what makes a classroom a great classroom. And the majority of that has to do with the response that those children have when you're teaching them. Are they learning? Who determines what's learning? And so I believe there are multiple ways that it has to be done. What that one thing is, I can't tell you right now at this moment, but I do know that there has to be something, and there must be change.
Okay. Mr. Monroe.
Simple. You went to college to get a degree, to teach. Whatever that system may be, allow my teachers to become teachers again. You spend the bulk of your time teaching them a test that they use, especially in my neck of the woods, to close my schools down with. A kid going to Lamar does not get the education that a kid that goes to Worthing gets. A teacher that teaches in the classroom at Worthing is not the same teacher that teaches in a classroom at Lamar. You need to bring in an outside evaluator. These principals with all this power and these chips on their shoulders, how many of you teachers have gotten bad evaluations just because Mr. Principal didn't like you? I sat in a teacher's house at 3 o'clock in the morning. She had a .45 Magnum to her head. You don't need to do this. You're not a bad teacher. You work for a bad school district. Point blank, we need to be able to walk into these classrooms and give these teachers fair evaluations. Whatever that system may be, it has to be fair. And a lot of them in the last 4 years have not been fair. Because whatever HFT didn't represent, I did. So I know they were not fair. Point blank, allow my teachers to teach. And when you do that, my babies will learn.
We are going to start a fresh question, and we will start on this side. So, Mr. Rowan, we're going to start with you and then go back through. It's going to be a question about collaboration. We haven't hit on that core value. Basic, straightforward question. How do you navigate a situation in which well-meaning constituents want very different things?
If you understand a business model, it's simple. In business, everybody's not going to get what they want. I'm going to get a little bit of what I want. You're going to get a little bit of what you want. Bottom line, and I look at Mr. Lundin, are we in the same business? Taking care of our kids? I don't see a color when I see a kid. I see children that need help. So in the best interest of the kids, that's a simple fix. But how many nights have we gone into boardrooms where people who have stood in front of these same people, just like we're doing, and you lie and go against everything that you said you were going to do? As far as me, it's passionate with me. I wake up every day wanting to do this. It's passionate. Can we work together? We have no choice at this moment. For the next 12 months, you're going to have to push it aside. You have a choice in the matter. You control your destiny at this point, or do you want Mark Morath to control it? So we have no choice but to work together. Come up with good solutions to help all of these children. If we don't, we won't have a school district to argue about.
When I think about collaboration as an educator and what we're doing for the children, for the betterment of the schools, for the betterment of children, I believe that it's a simple fix. I don't think that I know that everyone has their own method or way that they believe that a child should be taught, or how what policy should go into effect. But I think that it's as simple as drawing a chart. It could be a Venn diagram, but you're looking at pros and cons. What are the pros? What are the cons? And whichever one has the most pros, that's the one you go with. We have to look at it in a simple way. It's nothing to argue about when it's in black and white. And I think that's the simplest way of dealing with an issue. You put it in black and white, you put it on the board, you determine what are the pros. How many of these things are for our children? How many things are for the district, or whatever it is that you're dealing with? And I think that's the simplest way of dealing with it.
So I think about this predicament a lot, particularly in relation to District 6. For those of you that are familiar with District 6, it's basically two districts put together. You've got the western part of the energy corridor, which tends to be a bit more affluent, a lot more homeowners. And then you've got the 59 Southwest corridor, where you've got a tremendous amount of migrants and refugees and many languages being spoken. And both of those communities have a very distinct set of needs that deserve to be heard. I've overseen and supported schools in both parts of that district. And so what I've seen firsthand is, if you eliminate the silo effect in which those families and communities advocate on their school's behalf, and actually allow that family from West Side to get to know the family from Sharpstown International, and see how indeed there can be opportunities to understand what the other needs in a land of finite resources, you can then build less of a we versus they mentality when it comes to constituent advocacy, but more of a sense of we are District 6, and we need to be thinking creatively about how we can be supporting each other's schools and needs. The same problem holds true across all 9 trustee districts for trustees at that dais. We've become way too balkanized as a district when it comes to the way in which individual trustees advocate for projects within their districts or communities, rather than thinking of themselves as trustees for all 283 schools and all 210,000 kids. Trustee is different than a representative, and we need to be thinking about that in all we do.
Thank you. Madam Moderator, would you please repeat the question? Thank you.
Absolutely. How do you navigate a situation in which well-meaning constituents want very different things?
First of all, I want to just thank all of you being here tonight, and I apologize for being late. I was actually the MC for Madison, so unfortunately I could not break away. So the question is, how do you advocate for citizens who want different things? First of all, you have to understand and define what the different things are. The different things are, is it concerning academics? Is it concerning safe schools? Is it concerning new schools? Is it concerning effective teachers? What are the different things that the citizens are requesting, or the parents? But if the parents are requesting a stronger PTA, then of course we have to understand as trustees what's our responsibility in this seat. Our number one goal of being trustees is to hire the superintendent, to hire the internal auditor, to pass the budget, and to set policies. So if any division or any concerns that fall within those guidelines, we are responsible for. But when you identify the things, if it's family and community engagement or strong PTA, we are to support the superintendent and ask the superintendent, refer it to the necessary division so they can handle it, and to follow up with us in a timely manner to make sure that those issues and concerns has been addressed. So there are many categories when you're thinking about H.I.S.D, and there are many areas of a learning environment within the district. We have to identify what the things that they're asking so we can appropriately address those issues that are concerning our parents. We have to stay on our line as being trustees to support the superintendent to address those particular issues. Thank you, Madam Moderator.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you. So there are some opportunities to bring people together based on what some of the different concerns are in the community around this. There might be an opportunity to do some empathy work. I think that it would be a great opportunity actually to bring some people together to talk about what's going on what are some of the root causes of what's going on, and how do we understand it from different perspectives? There's an opportunity to be able to go visit different schools, like if you're a parent at a West Side high school, and maybe you're wanting to advocate for something at West Side, but you might not understand a school in Southwest Houston, such as Sharpstown High School, maybe going through that plus 10 times worse, right? And so it's important for us to put things into perspective. I was able to see some of this actually firsthand at a town hall meeting that I held in May. And there were some parents that came forward with some different concerns. And again, as we've explained before, District 6 is sort of a tale of two cities within the district in itself. And so, and a lot of the homeowners don't send their kids to school. There's some people that have some concerns about what's going on and have their perceptions around the schools as well. And so, again, an opportunity for us to be able to talk about it, to understand really what's going on, to put things into perspective so that you know that maybe there are some things that are needed versus the wants versus needs conversation can surface in that as well. It's also important too to advocate for our friends and families to go into the schools to volunteers who understand really what's going on the ground, and maybe that would change your perception as well. And so we could organize some different visits for that and then have a conversation about it afterwards. But again, opportunities, it's a continuing conversation. We're invested in our public schools and education, and they're teaching opportunities, and it's important for us as trustees to be able to be able to have those conversations with the constituents and to bring people together to understand differences, but still around common goals.
Thank you.
I like to think of collaboration like a tree. If I am not into testing and someone over here really thinks testing is important, we're very far apart. But if you go down a little bit farther and back up on the issue, you can say, well, we actually really care about outcomes. Okay, that's something we agree on. Let's start there, and then let's work forward on where we differ and see if we can find a situation. When you get communities or office partners or kids working on a science project in a classroom that cannot agree, and they really dig into their position, that's because number one, they feel like they're not being listened to, and number two, they feel powerless. So if you can address those root concerns of why people are digging in into this issue, then you can really alleviate and move the conversation forward. So for example, if a family is really against testing, it's not so much that they don't want the accountability, they're worried about their kids not having a vibrant educational environment in their classroom. They're worried that the kids are just spending time filling in circles. If we can address that, then we can still come to a conclusion and an agreement on something like testing, but still resolve what the real issue is that parents want a good school day, a good experience for their kids. So I think communication is key. I think having frank conversations about what the real problems are is key. And I think active listening to make sure that our lenses are not blocking out the true messages and the true concerns of the communities.
Thank you.
Jasmine, can you repeat the question one more time, please?
No problem. How do you navigate a situation in which well-meaning constituents want very different things?
So as a teacher, I have 37 different personalities in one classroom with one goal, and that's education. A lot of time, our motivation as a would-be trustee should be to draw a consensus on what's best for all of our children. And I'm going to say something kind of off the beaten path a little bit here. Our motivation shouldn't be political gain, or it shouldn't be trying just from one side of the freeway. So the east side of 45 has 57% Latino population. On the west side of 45, there's 32,653 students in District 1. 18,555 of them are on the east side of 45. What I would see is that we work together and do what's best for all students, take the political motivation out of this position, and have someone that actually is there for our children, and work together and draw that consensus between both sides of 45.
Thank you.
I
I have actually spent the past several years focused on this issue. I have, for the past several years, been at home with my family, raising children, and specifically focused on policy and equity in front of H.I.S.D, advocating for policy changes, advocating for new policies. And two of the things that I have looked at specifically are magnets and GT. And you can see where the conflict is going to be in magnets, how people feel about magnets and how they feel they should be funded, for example. And I have had close to 100 meetings with various constituencies. I would regularly meet with groups like the NAACP, Texas Civil Rights Project, MALDEF, and LULAC, all of who have different goals and aims. But we met together and we talked about it, and that's powerful. And I think that one of the things we have to do is make sure our constituency is informed about basic data. And I'll give you an example. About 2 years ago, we had a professor from Vanderbilt University come down and said, your GT program, the numbers are so disparate that it is intentionally discriminatory. This is 2 years ago, and virtually nothing has happened to fix it. I bet a lot of the people in this room who are very up on education policy didn't know that. We need to be better about telling the people in our communities the facts about who is being served, who isn't being served, and that's going to change the conversation. That people in the Heights who have been beneficiaries of wonderful, diverse programs understand that when there's disparate resources, there's a problem, and they're going to work to do the right thing. And I have seen it over and over again working with these communities. I think we need to have constant communication with all areas of the district. There are some parts of my district that feel very, very left out. And when people feel left out, they actually lash back when they hear of something that is going to potentially affect them, because they're not sure that you're going to be actually advocating for something that is reasonable and good and potentially great for everybody. So I think communication is key, and I think it is incredibly important to share the information and get better and more information to the constituency in order to work through these problems together.
Thank you. So just like we did with the first panel, we are going to ask you all the same commitment questions. You all saw them do it, but I will explain one more time. We will ask a question associated with good governance practices, and these candidates have also gotten these questions ahead of time. Your response is just yes, I will, with a thumbs up, or no, I will not, with a thumbs down, and you can explain your answer in a 30-second closing if needed. Rochelle will come with the microphone, and that's the microphone that we're going to use. These questions are based on the Houston GPS core values and directly reflect the proven practices of good governance and strong school board leadership. We expect a response of yes, I will, or no, I will not. Number one, if elected, to the best of your ability, will you focus all meetings and public discussions on policies directly affecting student outcomes and or the improvement of student outcomes? Hold on. This one works. At the end of the whole thing, yes.
Yes, I will.
Yes, I will.
Yes, I will.
I have and I will continue.
I have and I will continue.
Yes, I will.
Yes, I will. Yes, I will.
Question 2, if elected, will you dedicate time and energy to reviewing, analyzing, and evaluating district policy before and between meetings?
Yes, I will.
Yes, I will.
Yes, I will.
I have and I will continue.
I have and I will continue.
Yes, I will.
Yes, I will. Yes, I will.
Question 3, will you retain and fully cooperate with an independent entity to audit the district's annual budget and the budgeting process no later than February of 2018?
No doubt. Yes, I will.
Yes, I will.
Absolutely, yes, I will.
Yes, I will.
Yes, I will.
Yes, I will.
Yes, I will. Yes, I will.
Question 4, will you limit meeting time and public discussions to the issues or policies at hand without making assumptions or speculation about the motivation or character of other trustees or the superintendent and his staff?
Yes, I will.
Yes, I will.
Yes, I will.
I have and I will continue.
I have and I will continue.
Yes, I will.
Yes, I will. Yes, I will.
And finally, will you seek and support student-centered, data-driven policy solutions and discuss each policy on its own merits and not on the basis of political ideology?
Yes, I will.
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 Yes, I will. Yes, I will.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, these are the candidates for Districts 1, 6, and 9. And you all can actually stay there, but go ahead and stand up, and we're going to ask the other candidates to join them in front. We're going to pass the mic down since we only have 30 seconds for closing, and you all are not necessarily in order, but you can use your 30-second closing however you would like, but you will have 30 seconds. Mia will hold up the 10-second marker when you have 10 seconds left, and as we did before, we will cut you off at the end of that time. So yes, we'll start with Sean. You can feel free to come to the center for your 30-second closing.
Hi all, my name is Sean Sheban, and I ask for your support and your vote for the endorsement on District 5 trustee. If anything I said tonight intrigued or excited you, I invite you to visit my website, www.seancheban.com. You can also tweet at me, Sean_Cheban is my Twitter handle. Thank you, Dr. Jenkins, for your moderation tonight. I appreciate all of y'all's support and your votes tonight. Thank you very much.
I'm Susan Schaefer. What teachers want is respect and the time to teach that lesson that they found on Pinterest at 2 o'clock in the morning. What parents want is teachers who are not distracted by budget woes and testing frustration, and for their kids to come home talking about that lesson that the teacher found on Pinterest at 2 o'clock in the morning. And what the public and our taxpayers want and demand is a board that filters every decision through the goals of academic success and well-being for every single child in this district. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kara DeRocha, and I am seeking the position of H.I.S.D. School Board Trustee for District 5. I come at the trustee position from several different angles, from a technical background with regulatory experience, deep roots in my community, creating community-based and school-based programs and organizations, as a parent of both 2 typical children and 1 special education child. And all of these skills really easily scale to that of a board trustee. My name is Kara DeRocha, and I am asking for your support. Thank you.
My name is Monica Flores-Reichard. I am a candidate for Trustee District 1. I have spent the past several years focused on pushing for policy changes in front of this particular school board. I have studied this school board well. I know which coalitions form behind which issues and where talks tend to break down. I think that my depth and breadth of experience in this issue can really make a difference. It stops conversations across the board table from becoming street fights and becoming real, meaningful conversations that move important issues forward. Thank you.
Sue Dygard for H.I.S.D. District 5. I come to this with experience in many different spaces, including in places where I've had to deal with contentious situations to build consensus over policy change on a community issue. I have also worked with budgets in my professional background where I have achieved results year after year while prioritizing my budget, a shrinking budget, and finding efficiencies in that budget to do better in my programs. I also come to this with a strong vision and a sense of commitment and most of all, a sense of urgency to make the hard decisions to achieve a better future for all of the students in our district.
Hi, my name is Elizabeth Santos. Again, candidate for H.I.S.D. School Board Trustee, District 1. Again, I've been a part of the district since 1986 when I was 4 years old as a student, as a volunteer, and then as a teacher. I really hope to make a change, to come back and really put good intentions out there, and not just that, but qualified candidate. I've served on budgets and know firsthand what happens when good and bad policy plays out in the classroom.
Hi, Gretchen Himsel, running for District 1. If I am elected, my priorities will be improved student outcomes through the lens of responsible budgeting for a sustainable budget for H.I.S.D. I believe I have the experience and the temperament that will be an asset to our board, and I would be honored to have your endorsement tonight. Again, Gretchen Himsel for District 1.
Whew. Good evening. I am the incumbent, Holly Flambula-Seca, District 6 trustee. It's been an honor being here before you tonight. I do want to just say that I've been on the job since January. I've been working hard. I've been working in collaboration with my fellow trustees that serve with me on the board. I am proud and I'm humbled to be able to make decisions that are impacting students, 220,000 students every single day. I've worked hard. I've had favorable ratings. I'm an educator. Grit I do have, and I just want to continue to serve. I'm a mother, wife, a homeowner in District 6, and I have the best interest of the students at mind every single day when I'm up there making decisions at the dais and behind the scenes when we're working on policies.
Being the president of the H.I.S.D. School Board, several things that we have done as a board collectively. Within the last 3 years, we have closed the gap of our schools from 30 schools, from 60 schools down to 27. What we've done this year alone, when you talk about with your bylaws right now in setting policies, is set governance rules, and that is one thing that we have accomplished. And also, in the first time in history of superintendent, we have set goals for the superintendent as well, and we have following Robert Rules of Order. That is leadership. My name is Wanda Adams, the current incumbent of the Houston Independent School District, and I would love your support and your endorsement. And thank you so much, Ms. Moderator, for moderating this evening.
So I'm still Robert Lundin, and I am proud to be a Houstonian for a hell of a lot of reasons. One of the big ones is that we have avoided the trap that nearly every other large urban city has hit, where certain parts of the population have thrown their hands up when it comes to their local school system and said, because the district can't get it together, we're just going to check out. We'll move away. We won't take ownership. Houston has been the exception for years. But if we want to keep that the case, where rich and poor, white, African American, Hispanic, all languages take ownership of our district, we as a board need to be reflective of what we do and how we do it. I believe I can be that leader to ask those questions and push us to the right kind of governance for all of our kids in schools. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Again, I am Dr. Carla Brown, and I am the candidate for District 9. The current person who is in this position has done nothing to make the changes that District 9 needs. District 9 has 14 schools considered by children at risk as F campuses. That is unacceptable. When I come in as the board trustee, it is my goal to come in running to make sure that we bring the community in and make a difference in those failing schools. It's unacceptable.
Hi, I'm John Lumen, and I'm running for District 7 trustee. I ran last year. Voting and being on the board has consequences. We have not, the current trustee in my position, abstained some pretty big vote, not bringing the recapture back to the public here to vote on. Hasn't voted to balance the budget, instead of rated it for $107 million. When the LBB decided they wanted to come in or offered to come in and look at the budget, it was a 5-0 vote where she said don't bring it. So voting has consequences. I would respect and ask for your vote and your support. Thanks.
Gary Monroe, candidate for District 9. I want to thank both of my opponents, especially that one. Never seen her at a board meeting in 4 years, never did nothing. What you're saying doesn't matter. The incumbent, Thank you for a $110 million deficit. Thank you for firing my teachers next year. That would not happen on my watch. 4 years I've been doing it on the outside. Put me inside and watch me move.
My name is Ann Sung, trustee for Houston ISD District 7. In the 8 months I've been on this board, I've been a consistent voice for good governance, a focus on student outcomes, and good stewardship. I've worked to develop our good governance framework, and I'll be working this fall to develop our monitoring system to make sure that we are focused on student outcomes, that we support our students in our 10 IR schools that need to improve in the next year. I'm leveraging every relationship I have to build unity around the work that we need to do in this district, and I ask for your endorsement and your support to continue this important work. Thank you.
Thank you. One more time, let's give our candidates a round of applause. Thank you all. This concludes our forum, but before you get up, once again, I want to remind you, if you have been a member of Houstonians for Great Public Schools for at least 2 weeks, please check your email. Remember to check spam just in case, because it is a mass email. Check your email. Surveys for our endorsement will be open until 8 p.m. this evening, so you might want to do it before you leave, before you even get in your car. However, if you live close, head home. Log in. Also, head to www.houstongps.org to review the candidate profiles. They are on our website. You can feel free to do that as well. Thank you, and have a great night. Grab a cookie, go home, get some water, hunker down.